Namaskar and welcome to Sansad Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show Perspective, where we bring you detailed analysis of key national and international issues as well. Today we're going to talk about pollution and specifically the pollution in the national capital here. Now, New Delhi has topped the list of most polluted capitals in 2021. A dubious first position it has now held for 4 successive years, according to the World Air Quality Report prepared by Swiss organization IQAir. India is 5th in the most polluted country category, preceded by Bangladesh, Chad, Pakistan and Tajikistan as well. 11 of the 15 most polluted cities in Central and South Asia in 2021 are in India. According to this report, India's annual average PM 2.5 levels reached 58.1 microgram per cubic meter in 2021, which ended a 3-year trend of improving air quality. No cities in India met the WHO's air quality guideline of 5 microgram per cubic meter, and 48% of Indian cities in fact exceeded 50 microgram per cubic meter, which is 10 times more than the WHO guidelines. Now, the national capital Delhi saw a 14.6% increase in PM 2.5 concentration in 2021, with these levels rising to 96.4 microgram per cubic meter from 86 microgram per cubic meter in 2020. So what led to this situation and what all needs to be done to keep the rising pollution levels in check? We'll try and understand all aspects. And for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of experts. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with, we have with us in the studio Ms. Urmi Goswami, senior journalist who's been keeping a close watch on state of environment and pollution as well. We're also joined by Mr. Prakash Javadekar, former Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And we have Ms. Reena Gupta also with us, advisor to the Delhi government, and Ms. Anumita Chowdhury, Executive Director, Research and Advocacy, Center for Science and Environment, that is CSC. Welcome all of you to Sansad Television. I'll begin with you, Javadekar ji, and I'll start straight away with the tough question here. What went wrong on the way? It looks like, for 3 years, the pollution levels were going down. But if you look at this report in 2021 figures, there's a huge spike. Now, Delhi is not only our national capital, it is world's pollution capital as well.
I will speak about this ranking business by this particular organization afterwards, because fact cannot be denied that there are many cities in the world which are polluted. Because this talks about only South Asia. It doesn't talk. You go to Google and see type polluted cities in America and you will get the result. But that is not today's point. Today's point is, yes, we have pollution. And in Delhi, there are typical reasons also which I want to explain. First, yes, there is industrial pollution. There is vehicular pollution. There is pollution from waste management, and there is also population because of other polluting factors, fires and waste management. And in Delhi, particularly Parali also for 60 days, Parali is also there, the stubble. But interesting fact is, these are known facts in all cities. But today, if you see, that what is the pollution of Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai, and Chennai, and Kolkata. They are all same size cities. They have the same traffic. They have the same industries. They have the same polluting factors. And still, you will see that Delhi, if Delhi is 300, Mumbai is 200, Chennai is 80, and Kolkata is 150 or something like that.
Okay.
So why this happens? This is a moot question. And Delhi has a peculiar geography also. If you see the whole pollution map of the country, it is along the Ganga belt. In the Ganga belt, you find more pollution. Why this happens? Because this is alluvial soil. So there is dust. And there is moisture from Ganga and other river basins. So, and chill from Himalaya. So all in all, it creates pollutants.
Okay.
And this is new factor which I am telling. But that is very important. One must understand. And what is the difference between Mumbai, Kolkata, Delhi and Bangalore? In southern plateau, there is no alluvial soil.
Okay.
It's a solid rock formation, so there is no dust. And what is important is there is wind. In Delhi, you don't have wind because Delhi is situated in a trough-like situation. And so geography also plays important part. That let us accept that these are special features of Delhi, why Delhi becomes polluted even with the same activities in other cities.
Okay.
So this is one. And what we have done in 7 years or last 10 years or during started from during Atalji's time, I'll narrate it in my next
Indeed. We'll come to that part, Prakashji, in terms of the work which has been done and the solutions which need to be found from here onwards. Let's take a quick view from Anumita here as well. Anumita, would you agree with what Mr. Javadekar is referring to in terms of the reasons behind the rising level of pollutions in the national capital? Of course, vehicle pollution is one, but the geographical situation or the location of the national capital also contributes a lot to that.
Absolutely, Vishalji. So Javadekar has brought out the geoclimatic constraints of this region. And every winter, and otherwise also when we see very high levels of pollution here in Delhi, we know that it is the entire Indo-Gangetic plain, the northern India, which is wrapped up in pollution. And we know the reason because it's a landlocked region with where the ventilation index is very low, and there is no natural free flow of air, especially during winter, and the massive trapping of pollution happens. But that also means that because we have this constraint, therefore, our action to address the problem will also have to be several times more stringent, right? And in fact, globally, we have seen that other regions, even in like California and US, they actually have special legal provisions to take action which is over and above than what the rest of the US is doing.
Okay.
So now the new data that has come up, there are several messages there. One, that the fact that the levels have gone up in 2021 shows that the reduction that we had witnessed during 2020 because of hard lockdown phase, that the pollution is kind of bouncing back. And now this is really the crossroad. We have to be extremely careful that this should not therefore become the trend in the future. Okay. And we have to crack down immediately with a multi-sector strategy to deal with it. And another big lesson from the new data that has come, it is not just Delhi, but you will find that even smaller towns and cities in the region are also either equally polluted like Delhi or very highly polluted. Now that is partly because of local problem, but there is a larger regional pollution that we have to begin to understand, that just by taking action within the municipal boundary of few towns and cities will not help us to address the problem. We need strong local action, but we need that strong local action across each and every neighborhood and locality, but across the region.
Okay.
That is the scale of change and speed of change that is needed today so that we can take action in all sources of pollution. It is just not dust. Just one point that I want to highlight before ending now, that is that even though the influence of dust is high in northern India, but during winter, and as the source apportionment studies in Delhi has also shown, that there is something called secondary particulates that contributes up to 25% of particulate matter. Okay. And that is formed from the gases. And the gas comes from the industry stack, from the vehicle's tailpipe, from waste burning. So this means we really need very strong plan for the combustion sources across the region.
Okay. Now, Urmi, I'd like to bring you in here. You've been writing regularly on this particular issue. In terms of what Mr. Javadekar and Ms. Anumita is referring to, it seems like, yes, we have identified the problem. We know where the problem exists. In terms of solutions also, as Anumita is referring to, it has to be multi-sectoral, multi-pronged approach as well. But in terms of identifying the problem, we'll go a step back and try and look at it. Just the vehicular pollution, no. The geolocation, the geographical location, of course, is an added constraint here. When the weather changes in winters, as Anumita was referring to, another factor gets added on?
Yes, it is. I mean, look, it's great that we are now closer to articulating the different problems or challenges this region faces, and also accepting that this is not just a Delhi problem. So that's great. But the fact is that if I just look at Delhi, 2016 you had the IIT Kanpur source apportionment study that gave us enough leads. I think the big problem is what Anumita kind of referred to is the need for a multisectoral approach. And I think to add to that, I think we have focused for far too long on two things. One is looking at what I call five-star problems. So we talk about crop burning because that's when the air pollution spikes and gets out of control and becomes unbearable. So, and not looking at it as a quotidian problem, which what it is, it's a daily, everyday issue.
It's just adding on to the existing problem.
Exactly. So if you don't take care of your base load when there is a spike, some of it which is in your control and some of it which is not, which is where the geolocation comes in, then you're in trouble. That's one. The other is something that the National Clean Air Plan has made an attempt to sort of rectify or step in, is looking at it in terms of regional airsheds. We have the new commission that it's no longer new, but the Commission for the National Capital Region, which again looks at it as an airshed issue. So the thing is that, yes, I'm very happy that everybody, Mr. Javadekar, who's former environment minister himself and has been talking about this, is articulating this, and we see much greater public public and political articulation on the issue. Now the thing is, now we should act. And are we acting? And that is where the problem starts.
Okay.
Are we still focusing on five-star solutions? Are we still focusing on the spike? Everybody, Anumita mentioned the Kanpur study mentions about vehicular pollution. The statistics show that vehicular pollution in terms of secondary pollution is very high. What are we doing in having in Delhi a strong mass public transport, which is viable, which is affordable, which is reliable? Delhi doesn't have one, and if you did have that, you would see a whole lot of people actually shift to that means. And then we keep talking about the hard lockdown and the impact it had on air. Think of the one big thing that happened during the hard lockdown. People didn't move. So you actually brought down vehicular pollution. Exactly. Okay. So that makes a huge impact. That's one of the issues, but there are many such issues.
Indeed. And we'll come to those aspects as well. Let me bring in Miss Reena here as well, Miss Reena Gupta, the advisor to Delhi government. Ms. Gupta, you heard all the three panelists. In terms of identifying the challenges here, of course, vehicular pollution is one aspect. And geographical location is something which we can't do anything about. But the other aspect, the added-on problems during the winters as well. Now, a question which is always being asked, and since you're here with us, we would also ask you that. You have now, your party now has a government in Punjab as well. So can we breathe, or rather, can we hope to breathe a little easier in the national capital in winters at least? That's one. And second, what's your strategy to deal with the issue of pollution?
First of all, let me state that air pollution does not recognize administrative boundaries. So though Delhi gets talked about a lot, but it is not just Delhi, it's all the surrounding cities around Delhi. And if you look at the report that you mentioned, IQI report, if you look at the 15 most polluted cities in that list, 10 of those are actually in Uttar Pradesh. So it's not just Delhi, even though Delhi has this dubious distinction of always being talked about, it's this whole Indo-Gangetic plain. And that's where I say that the central government has to take leadership and work on an airshed model. The Central Air Quality Commission was created, but we still don't have a plan for the airshed of Delhi. The airshed of Delhi is at least 200 to 300 kilometer radius in and around Delhi. So every activity which happens in this airshed impacts Delhi. And just to give you one more data point, last year, Anumita ji's organization came out with this report where they looked at contribution of sources from outside Delhi, which are polluting Delhi's air. So 75% of PM 2.5 in Delhi actually originates from outside Delhi. So the point that I'm making is that the central government has to bring all the neighboring states together. We have to agree on a short-term, medium-term, long-term, time-bound action plan. The central government should tell Delhi, these are the 5 things you need to do. Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, these are the 5 things you need to do. And if you do those 5 things, the central government gives you additional money. This is exactly what China did. China had an airshed approach, and the cities had targets, measurable targets. You bring down your PM 2.5 by such and such level, you get compensated from central government. Right now, we don't have any such thing. So just to give you a few examples, Delhi shut down 2 of its thermal power plants, but we still have 12 extremely polluting power plants in the airshed of Delhi, which continue to pollute Delhi. So Delhi shut its power plants. We are buying expensive electricity, but the air of Delhi doesn't get cleaner.
Okay.
So unless you have a plan for all the states in and around Delhi, we will continue to have the same problem year after year.
Okay. Now that's a point which I'd like to take to Mr. Javadekar here. Mr. Javadekar, one thing which all of us can agree is that all stakeholders will have to work together. But on this aspect of what Ms. Reena is referring to, that the centre will have to take the initiative and the suggestions of the airshed. There was a national plan as well to counter the air pollution. What has been done and what's the plan?
Yeah. First, I started this airshed approach in 2015, and I took it to a ministry level. So ministers from Rajasthan, Punjab, Haryana, Delhi, and Uttar Pradesh, we used to meet every year 3 times, followed by various meetings of officers. We have chalked out for yearly short-term, medium-term, long-term plans. All are ready, all are on record, and we used to make consistent follow-up. Now there is an independent commission which has been appointed at the direction of Supreme Court. And so that commission is now doing the job. So observing and ensuring that whatever the plan states have given need to be, and I know every state has erred on many things. And if we correct all those things, so real cooperation from all these 5 states will only improve the airshed problem. The issue is we have also come out with National Clean Air Program of 100 cities. And in that 100 cities, major cities are from Gangetic Belt because it has more pollution. Third, what we have done, central government, as she was saying, what the vehicular pollution is one more important part. And so what we did, we decided in 2016 that from 2020 onwards, there will not be Euro 3, 4 or 5 fuel and vehicles.
Okay.
So now vehicles are compliant Euro 6, Bharat 6, and fuel is also Bharat 6.
Okay.
And this is now throughout the country. And this is reducing. In Delhi, for years together during UPA regime also, there was talk about peripheral expressways because 1 lakh undestined vehicles used to come and pollute Delhi. We completed those peripheral expressways and now no vehicle undestined comes in Delhi.
Okay.
So that has saved pollution and accident. Metro. Now today yesterday's metro figure is 4.5 million travelers, commuters a day. And the way it is expanding, I'm very sure within 5 years, it will be 10 million people coming and going from that. That's the most environmental friendly mass transport system.
Okay.
Then, and that's the best model of sustainable. One thing, as far as other gases are concerned, we have banned the other gases to be used and only PNG has to be used in industries. Then in brick kilns also, we have made zigzag technology compulsory. Then there are CNG vehicles and more electric vehicles are given by the central government. So all this put together, vehicular pollution is taken care of, industrial pollution is taken care of, and you will just recollect that during Atalji's time, when this problem was discussed, Jagmohan was the industry minister, he moved thousands of industries out of Delhi. We had to pay political price for it, but he did it, with merit. And Atalji started CNG buses and metro also. So that is the way out. That is what Modi ji is committed for National Action Program also. But unless every state and every factor, because in Delhi, you see the waste management also, there are fires continuous.
Indeed,
Then,
indeed, Mr. Javadekar, all stakeholders will have to work together, and you pointed out various aspects that shows that the work is being done. We are moving ahead. We're running short of time, but quick reaction from all three of you, and I'll start with you, Anumita, because you spoke about multi-sectoral approach as well. So quickly, if in 60 seconds, if you could, or 2 minutes, if you could tell us what is multi-sectoral approach you're referring to, because we're talking about dealing with vehicular pollution here as well, dealing with industrial pollution also, and then of course, taking care of the geographical situation.
Absolutely. So that multi-pronged strategy that I'm talking about here, that for any city to meet clean air targets, and particularly Delhi, we first require a massive energy transition in each and every sector, industry, vehicles, and power plant, so that we move out of dirty fuel. So it's very interesting that Delhi has already banned petcoke, furnace oil, coal, but it has to be done again at a regional scale to be able to make natural gas usage viable in these sectors, but the pricing is not working out. So in fact, the cleaner fuel is more expensive than dirty fuel. Second big transition we require is, as Urmi pointed out, in the transportation, the mobility sector, that we will have to ensure that by a certain date, that at least 80 to 85% of daily travel trips are moved by public transport, supported by walking and cycling strategy with multimodal integration, and that will have to be done at a massive scale across the region and in Delhi. The third area is where we want massive circularity to work, that the waste that Mr. Javadekar has talked about, that why should we have landfill fires? But it's what Sarvekshan is saying, that by 2025, we should be able to have a zero landfill policy in place and implemented. Then the cities then will have to be enabled to ensure that we do 100% segregation, 100% material recovery, and there is no dumping of fresh waste in landfills.
Indeed.
And the third is, of course, the dust part of it, but that is not just about sweeping the roads. And it is about actually soil stabilization and massive greening and conservation effort. But the last point that I just want to highlight, that's a big lesson from Delhi. So Delhi has shut down all coal power plants, phased out coal, big industries are out, CNG program has happened, old vehicles are going, restriction on truck. With all that, CPCP is reporting about 30 to 33% reduction on a year-on-year basis in pollution since 2016. And yet, after doing all of that, we still have to reduce by yet another 60%. Now, just imagine how tough those decisions will have to be in each and every sector in Delhi and NCR and beyond, so that we can get that kind of reduction. It is that stringency of action and the speed of action that we have to understand today.
Indeed, stringency of actions, decisions to be taken with speed. And of course, what you're referring to, Ms. Anumita, is both short-term, mid-term and long-term actions as well. Ms. Gupta, I'd like to bring you in here for a quick comment because, both you and Mr. Javadekar were talking about how all stakeholders will have to come together and work on it. Of course, the onus lies on both the state governments and the central government as well. They will have to work together, and your party's government in 2 states is an important stakeholder there. So a quick response in terms of the strategy, the future strategy from here onwards. A lot has been done by your governments, a lot has been done by the central government as well, and the other state governments also. But from here onwards, what's your strategy?
So, Delhi government has taken the maximum number of steps. And as Anumita ji correctly pointed out, we've shut down the thermal power plants. We are the only state in the country that has moved all our industry to clean fuel. Haryana, UP, Punjab, Rajasthan are yet to do that. But having said that, when Mr. Javadekar was there used to be meetings last year. Not a single meeting happened. The Delhi government kept writing to the central government, call a meeting of all the environment ministers. Now is the time to start calling those meetings. This is the lean period where air quality is better. We need to make plans for the winter season so that when come winter, we are not in the same condition again. And today also, there is a fire in one of the landfills which is controlled by the MCD, which has been burning for 48 hours, spewing really, poisonous air into the Delhi air shed. So we have to work on all of these aspects, and the central government has to increase funding. The National Clean Air Program is very poorly, it's really underfunded. Some of the cities hardly got 20 lakhs.
Okay.
You cannot even buy an air quality monitor in 20 lakhs. So we really need more money from the central government. The states need to be compensated. The states which are making all these changes in their airsheds, they need to be compensated. They need to be rewarded.
Okay.
And the states which are not taking changes, they need to be penalized. That's the only way it's going to work.
Okay, that seems to be a plausible way of looking at things. Those who work or those who achieve the targets need to be rewarded, and I'm sure the stakeholders, that is both the state governments and the central government, will work a model or a way around that as well, in addition to what they're already doing. But Urmi, quickly, to sum up the discussion, if you could, list out three essentials in terms of what everybody is talking about, Anumita, Prakash ji and Reena ji as well, and your own experience and the other experts. Three essential steps to be taken immediately.
One is, of course, there has to be the multi-sectoral approach, but also multi-level approach. So it's not enough to say central government should do this and state should do this and local. All of them have to, and that has to be coordinated. So multi-sectoral and multi-level. The second, we must have strong apportionment studies done consistently to actually measure where the pollution is emanating from and the changes that are happening there. You'll be surprised, there are so many low-cost, no-regret measures that do not get taken because we think that it doesn't make a difference. As you know, mass public transport is one, greening of cities is another. And of course, we already have, the good news is that we have the structures. The National Clean Air Plan is talking in terms of airsheds finally. The National Commission for the NCR region is talking in terms of airshed. But the most important thing is that we need to start acting, and that acting has to come at every level.
Okay.
And the things that we don't think are important, they don't show up as big political gains, actually are the ones which will make a difference.
Okay.
Public transport one, greening is the other, cleaner cities is the other.
Indeed.
And as far as money is concerned, yes, the National Clean Air Plan is one area, but there are other programs. The FAME is another one which can help with the public transport. There are other such sort of initiatives which you have to pull in. So it's multi-sectoral, multi-level, and stronger backing of science.
And the time is to act now, as you're pointing out. Thank you so much, Urmi, Ms. Anumita Roy Chowdhury, Mr. Prakash Javadekar, and Ms. Reena Gupta as well, for sharing your views and insight. As our experts are pointing out, clearly this problem requires a multi-pronged strategy by all the stakeholders at a multi-sectoral and at a multi-level process as well. And not only short-term solutions, but also mid-term and long-term as well. Tough decisions will have to be taken. We've done a lot, but there is a long way to go before we tackle the problem or the challenges being posed by pollution in not only national capital, but in other cities across the country as well. We'll come back again tomorrow with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Sansad Television. Thank you.